Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most enthralling and interesting series with an abundance of amazing concepts that never seem to let us down. Surprisingly though, this story didn't always begin with the introduction of Yuji Itadori. Instead, we were first introduced to the world of Jujutsu Kaisen through the eyes of someone else. This person would be no one other than the extremely formidable Yuta Okkotsu. So in today's video, I'm going to explain in depth the prequel to Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. So sit back and enjoy, as this is going to be an absolutely action-packed video about Yuta because of the fears of his mysterious curse. But apparently Gojo manages to convince them to let Yuta live through his protection and enrolls him at Jujutsu High. From here, we move into a flashback in which some guys are bullying Yuta. Yuta thinks to himself, "You can't," and stop it, but as the bullies get closer, he shouts, "Stay away, Rika," and we suddenly see the hand of a curse come out of nowhere and go to grab one of the bullies by his neck. Through a report, it is revealed that the 4 students suffered irreversible injuries in response to their bullying behavior. We then see Yuta sitting against the wall, terrified and traumatized, saying, "I'm sorry," multiple times, like it was all his fault. With the locker creaking open, we see a pool of blood leaking out and all of the bodies are crammed inside. After this happens, we find Gojo has enrolled Yuta in the Jujutsu Tech. We see Panda, Inumaki, and Maki talking to each other about the new transfer student and how Yuta has crammed his 4 classmates into a locker. They say if this kid gets too cocky, that they're going to rough him up a bit. From here, we skip back to the execution chamber, where Gojo and Yuta are talking. Gojo picks up a warped knife and asks Yuta what this is. Yuta replies saying that he tried to kill himself, but Rika wouldn't let him. Gojo tells Yuta that he's kind of a gloomy one, and that today is his first day at Jujutsu Tech, to which Yuta replies by saying that he is not going because he does not want to hurt anyone anymore. But Gojo replies telling him that if he lives this way, he will be lonely. The curse that attached itself to him has the ability to help people, but it all depends on Yuta and whether or not he can control its power. He tells Yuta to learn and control this power, and once he reaches that point, he then can decide whether or not he wants to throw it all away. From here, we arrive at the classroom where Gojo and the other first graders are. Gojo tells them that their new classmate is starting today, to which the first graders reply that they've heard he's quite the punk. Gojo then tells Yuta to enter. As soon as Yuta enters the room, the first graders are shocked as they sense the malevolent curse within him. Yuta starts to introduce himself to the students, but Maki almost instantly pins Yuta to the wall with her spear. Yuta nervously wonders aloud if this is a test. Maki then cuts him off and explains to him that this is a place to learn about curses and not a place for the ones who are cursed. Gojo then intervenes in the conversation and tells Yuta about curses and explains what Jujutsu High exactly does. While the other students wonder why Gojo hasn't told Yuta this before, he nonchalantly says, "Oh, I'd step away if I were you guys." Suddenly from behind, Rika's hand reaches out and grabs the weapon that Maki was pointing at Yuta. Rika screams and moves her hand towards the first graders. All the while, Yuta is telling Rika to wait. Suddenly we see a younger Yuta and a young girl wishing him happy birthday while handing him a present. Yuta replies by saying, "Can I open it?" To which she replies, "Sure." He then opens the present and finds a ring in it. He questions the girl as to why she'd gift him a ring. She replies saying it's an engagement ring. Then Yuta replies confused, saying engagement? The girl tells Yuta that it means that it's a promise, and when they grow up, they will get married. Still in the flashback, we switch to a scene in which a van with blood on its wheels is coming to a stop in front of Yuta. We then see the girl's body with her head crushed and a line of blood following the van's path. Stunned, Yuta says, "Rika?" As the sadness sets in, he hears someone calling his name from the ground. As he looks down, he is mortified to find a curse appearing from Rika's body and grabbing at his legs, preaching at him that when they grow up, they'll get married. Back in the present, it seems Yuta has managed to get Rika to back off, and Gojo tells the first graders about Yuta's backstory and how he got cursed with Rika. He then introduces Yuta to the first graders and the first graders to Yuta. We officially for the first time meet Maki Zenin, who specializes in using curse tools to exercise curses. Toge Inumaki, who is a cursed speech user and his vocabulary is only limited to rice ball ingredients. And lastly but not least, Panda, who just introduces himself as Panda. Then Gojo says that including Yuta, it makes 4 first years, and that their afternoon practical Jujutsu class is going to be conducted in pairs. So he pairs Inumaki and Panda and Maki and Yuta together. Yuta says to Maki that he's looking forward to working with her, to which Maki replies by saying, "You were bullied at school, weren't you?" and that Shed had picked on him as well. She wonders if it is because of his curse and the fact that he acts good but it feels all fake. Then Panda interrupts them and tells Maki to stop putting pressure on Yuta, and tells Yuta that Maki can be harsh at times, to which Yuta replies that she is not wrong. They then head off and appear at an elementary school, in which we get to see Maki, Yuta, and Gojo. Yuta asks Gojo, "Where are we?" To which Gojo replies that they are in elementary school, where several children have gone missing, and 2 have been attacked by cursed spirits. Maki tells Yuta a crowded place with varying memories, like schools and hospitals, tend to generate curses, and explains to him how curses come into existence through this. Gojo then puts up a curtain and tells them to exorcise the curse, rescue the children, and retrieve their dead bodies if there are any. He tells Yuta, while leaving the curtain, "Don't go dying on us." Upon hearing that, Yuta starts panicking. Then Maki tells Yuta to pay attention and stay focused. We then see 3 curses ahead of them, heading in their direction. Upon seeing them, Yuta panics even more. Maki tells him to be quiet as this will be his first lesson, and finishes off the curses in one blow. She says if the curses gang up, it means that they are weak, and the same goes for humans too. After this, they head towards the school building. As they get inside the school, a nervous Yuta is panicking because of the curses, and Maki thinks to herself that despite the curses aren't attacking, and questions to herself, is it because of Yuta? She then asks Yuta what grade level he is, to which Yuta reacts with confusion, as he doesn't know what Maki is talking about. Maki explains to him that Jujutsu sorcerers are ranked on the basis of grades, to which Yuta replies that he doesn't know because he just got into Jujutsu High. Maki tells him to show her his ID card, and as he brings it out, she snatches it out of his hand. Before looking, she guesses Yuta has little to no experience, so he should be a grade 4. But then she looks at his ID card and is absolutely shocked after seeing that Yuta is a special grade sorcerer. She starts to think about this crazy revelation to herself and that this had to be some kind of joke. Just then, Yuta interrupts her by saying, "Zenin, behind you." Behind them is a massive powerful curse that attacks them and throws them up into the sky. As Maki goes to attack the curse, she has her spear knocked out of her hand, and both her and Yuta fall into the mouth of the curse, rendering them caught. Inside the curse, we find Yuta, who is unconscious after the fall. Upon waking up, he sees Maki, angered, saying that she dropped her cursed weapon and to let her out. Confused, Yuta asks her where they are, to which Maki replies that they are inside the stomach of the cursed spirit, and upon hearing this, Yuta begins to start panicking. Maki then asks Yuta where that so-called curse of his is, in which Yuta replies by saying that he never knows when she'll come out. He screams asking Maki what they are going to do now, to which Maki replies that once the curtain deactivates, they can expect help. All of a sudden, they hear someone saying help. When they look to where the voice came from, they see 2 kids, one lying unconscious and the other one saying to them, "Please help, he's gonna die." Upon seeing them, Yuta thinks that these are the kids that Gojo talked about. Maki says that this isn't good and tells Yuta to take a closer look. The kids are cursed and it's only a matter of time before they die. Yuta starts to wonder what they're going to do now, in which Maki replies that they are going to do nothing as they are just going to simply wait. Then she starts to sway and says to Yuta that not everyone has a resistance to curses like he has. She then falls to the ground unconscious. Upon seeing her collapse, Yuta walks to her and is shocked to see a wound on her leg. Confused, he wonders aloud what this wound is and if it is cursed. The kids start to freak out, asking Yuta if she is going to die and to please help them. Yuta replies saying, "But I can't." But just then, somehow, Maki gains a bit of consciousness and grabs Yuta's collar. She says to him, "Then why did you even enroll at Jujutsu High? To do what? What does he even want? And what does he expect?" In which Yuta replies that he simply didn't want to hurt anyone anymore, and says that he wanted to run away and disappear, but Gojo said that he would be lonely, and he couldn't seem to disagree. He then says that he wants to be with people, and he wants to be relied upon, and says that he wants to believe that it's okay to keep living. After hearing this, Maki tells him, then start exercising, and do it over and over again, for his own feelings and for everyone else's respect. She says if he does this, then he will be fine in due time, and tells him that that's what Jujutsu High is all about. She then falls unconscious once again. Upon hearing Maki's encouragement, Yuta takes the engagement ring Rika gave him and puts it onto his finger and says Rika, in which Rika replies yeah. He then asks Rika to lend him her power. Suddenly, we see a spurt of blood shoot out from the curse's mouth and a massive and powerful curse tear out through the curse's face. Rika tears the curse apart from the inside. Then the curse asks Rika, "Who are you?" To which Rika replies, telling the curse to shut up, and starts to brutally punch the living hell out of it. As Rika beats down on the curse, we find Gojo leaning up against the car. He says freaky, so this is the true identity of the special grade vengeful curse, Rika Orimoto, and then sarcastically jokes that women sure are scary. While this is happening, Yuta runs out of the building below the curses, carrying Maki and the boys. He thinks to himself that he has to take everyone to Gojo while Rika is distracting the cursed spirit. As he gets closer to the exit of the school, he starts to tremble because it is too much weight for him to carry, saying stuff like, "Not yet," and "Don't fall." Then he hears a human like Rika saying, "Haven't you decided that now's a good time for a change?" She then tells Yuta that he can do it, and upon hearing that, Yuta says, "Yes, I can do it." Yuta finally makes it to the gate and collapses, and there we find Gojo standing saying, "Welcome back, you did it." Inside of the hospital, Gojo is telling Yuta that the kids and Maki will be fine, to which Yuta replies quietly, "Good." Gojo says to him that he doesn't look too relieved, and Yuta says that for the first time in his life, he has summoned Rika, and he remembers something. He says that in a flashback of him and Rika when they were kids, he remembers Rika saying that it's a promise that when you and I grow up, we will get married. To which Yuta replied, "Sure," and says that that means we will be together forever and ever. Yuta explains that maybe Rika isn't the one who is cursing him, instead he's the one who's cursed Rika. Gojo says to Yuta that he has always believed that love manifests the most distorted curses, in which a determined Yuta says to Gojo that he is going to unravel the secret of Rika's curse at Jujutsu High. A while later, we find Gojo discussing Yuta and Rika with the higher-ups. The higher-ups say to Gojo that Rika has been summoned and that they left Yuta with Gojo to prevent this kind of situation. They then ask Gojo to explain himself without making any excuses, to which Gojo replies that he honestly wasn't planning on making any excuses at all. Upon hearing this, the higher-ups get angry and say to Gojo that he needs to stop his nonsense, and that if Rika had continued her rampage, the whole town would have been destroyed. But Gojo replies that if that happens, he would have put his life on the line to stop it. He says that the one thing they know for sure is that they know little or know nothing about Rika. He wonders how this girl, who had no connection to a sorcerer's family, became such a powerful cursed spirit, and says to them that we can't control what we can't understand, and what they will learn will only come from trial and errors, so the higher-up should let him be. A higher-up tells Gojo to not forget Yuta's secret execution has only been postponed, to which Gojo replies with a cold glare, stating if that's the case, when the time comes, then he will be on Yuta's side. After Gojo's meeting, we see him and all the first graders. As Maki and Yuta begin their training, it goes into a flashback where Gojo is telling Yuta that it's nearly impossible to exercise a curse like Rika, but unraveling it is a different case. He tells Yuta that to unravel it, one had to analyze the millions of knots of cursed energy and untie them one by one. He explains that only Yuta can do it because he is the one who is cursed. Yuta asks how he will do it, and Gojo hands Yuta a katana. He tells him that a curse is most stable when possessing an item, and that his connections with Rika come from the engagement ring, so we should think of it as a pipe that's already there, and he needs to invoke Rika's curse. He tells Yuta to channel the energy into the katana and use it, then repeat it until he masters it. Back in training, Yuta and Maki are fighting, but Yuta ends up losing to her. Then Gojo tells everyone to gather up and tells Inumaki that a curse has been assigned to him because he is the most suitable person for it. Yuta then asks what Gojo means by assigned, in which Panda explains to Yuta that Inumaki is the only second grade first year student, and because of that, he also gets solo missions. Gojo tells Yuta to go with Inumaki and support him. Confused, Yuta asks Gojo what does he mean by support, to which Gojo replies that by support he means to watch and learn from Inumaki whatever he can, because every sorcerer is unique and unraveling curses requires understanding and curses first. Once they arrive at the mission location, we get to see Inumaki, Yuta, and one of the assistant managers, Kiyotaka Ijichi. Yuta remembers Gojo saying that this is a low-level mission, so we won't be there with them. Kiyotaka explains to them what they need to know about the building, which is a shopping mall, and about their mission. Quickly before they shoot inside, we see Inumaki buy throat medicine from a shop, which Yuta thinks is pretty odd. As they enter the mall, Ijichi puts up the curtain. Inside the building, Inumaki and Yuta are talking about the mission. As they are talking, a cursed spirit comes from behind of Yuta and the curse starts to swarm. After seeing the swarm of curses, Yuta thinks back to what Maki told him, that weak curses form groups. He thinks that there are still too many though. Just then, Inumaki takes off his mask and yells, "Explode." All of the curses swarmed there, suddenly explode. But after using his curse technique, Yuta notices that Inumaki's voice becomes extremely hoarse and realizes that that's why he needs the throat medicine. Mysteriously, we see someone who we haven't seen before, watching and grinning at the two while they walk through the mall. After this mysterious man, we get back to Inumaki and Yuta, where they talk to each other about the curtain that is still there, and that they can't get out of the building. Behind them, a curse suddenly appears. The curse starts to attack them, and while protecting Yuta from the curse's attack, Inumaki hurts his finger. Inumaki then uses his curse technique, Get Twisted, which twists the curse's arm. After using his curse technique, Inumaki falls, coughing, because he's used up too much of his curse technique, which has taken a toll on his throat. Just before the curse spirit attacks Inumaki, Yuta grabs him and drags Inumaki away from the curse's attack. As they run away from the curse, Inumaki's throat medicine drops onto the ground. While hiding from the curse, Yuta says that this isn't the curse that they were told about, and it isn't a low-level curse. Then Yuta sees Inumaki's broken finger and asks him if he is okay, in which Inumaki replies that he is okay, but Yuta asks him if he is sure and apologizes to him because he got injured because of him. Yuta peeks out at the curses and realizes that the curse isn't chasing after them, but they still can't get out of the building till they exorcise it. As he was contemplating what to do, Inumaki starts to move out of their hiding spot on his own. After realizing Inumaki has left, Yuta goes to follow him, but Inumaki stops him. Confused, Yuta asks what Inumaki is doing and if he is going alone. Inumaki replies, informing him that he is. And upon hearing this, Yuta thanks him for caring about him, but he tells them that they are going to do this together. Standing there, Yuta faces the cursed spirit, and after the cursed spirit sees Yuta, he also notices Rika, and it becomes extremely angered. The cursed spirit furiously starts to attack Yuta, to which Yuta seems confused and wonders why the cursed spirit is enraged. While fighting, Yuta thinks to himself about Inumaki and how he's kind because he uses rice ingredients to speak in case he hurts people, and how he saved him today. Yuta attacks the curse with his katana, but only manages to cut the curse's hand. He thinks that his attack was too shallow and the curse's skin is too tough. While stuck in his thoughts, the cursed spirit attacks Yuta, which results in him suffering a wound to the head that begins to seep blood. He then slides behind the cursed spirit and grabs Inumaki's throat medicine off the floor, tossing it to Inumaki in the process, which was his objective from the beginning. After Inumaki swiftly drinks up all of the cough medicine, he screams, "Get crushed," to the cursed spirit, and as the curse hears these words, it gets absolutely crushed, vanishing almost instantly afterwards. Afterwards, both of them celebrate by giving each other a high five, and Yuta tells Inumaki that they have done a great job. He thinks to himself that when he finishes unraveling Rika's curse, then he will become a normal person, but until that happens, he wants to become useful to everyone. They then leave the mall as the curtain disappears. While this happens, another sorcerer watches them from above, having claimed Yuta's ID and confirming his interests in another special grade sorcerer. After returning to school, Yuta learns that Inumaki was born with his family's sigil, meaning that he's never been able to speak normally, and has accidentally cursed people in the past. Panda says that he's very misunderstood and asks Yuta to be nice to him. Maki interrupts their conversation to continue training, and he asks her how to channel his cursed energy into his blade better. However, Maki reveals that she can't help him with anything regarding cursed energy, which has confused Yuta. At the same time, Ajichi meets with Gojo to apologize for allowing someone else to cast another curtain on top of his barrier, and explains that this is what trapped the students inside with an unidentified semi-grade 1 curse that wasn't a part of the original mission. Gojo doesn't blame Ajichi because their enemy is strong, and he tells him that he is one of the 4 special grade sorcerers and the very worst of all curse users, Suguru Geto. Later on, a woman named Sato believes her daughter is cursed. She brings her to what she believes to be a Buddhist temple where Suguru Geto is actually cursing people though. He's quite rude to them, calling the woman by her nickname instead. The daughter suggests that they leave, but Sato insists. Suguru is able to accurately guess all of the daughter's symptoms because he can see the curse hanging on her. The woman asks how he knows, and he instantly takes the curse and absorbs it. As they leave, Suguru is more polite, as they regard him as the Buddha himself. Afterwards, Geto says that that's fitting coming from non-sorcerer monkeys. One of Geto's associates comes to inform him that all of the commanders in his group of curse users have arrived. Excited to see everyone together for the first time in a while, they both start taking pictures before they're interrupted by another cursed human. However, this man hasn't donated to the temple in 6 months, and he's a money collecting monkey as opposed to the curse collecting one. Without any money, he's of no use to Geto and is allowed to die right in front of them. Disgusted, Suguru's assistant Minami Suda expresses her distaste for being the same race as the monkeys. Immediately after, Suguru enters the meeting room to announce that it's time to bring about the Age of Sorcerers. The first step to enacting their plan is to destroy the cornerstone of the Jujutsu world, Jujutsu High. At the same time, the first years of Tokyo Jujutsu High walk outside. Yuta suddenly stops and looks off to the distance. When Panda asks what's wrong, Yuta replies that he has a bad feeling. Looking down on the students from a high floor on another building, Jujutsu High's principal, Masamichi Yaga, and Satoru Gojo discuss Suguru's involvement in Inumaki's and Yuta's last mission. Yaga suggests that maybe Satoru is paranoid about Geto, but Gojo insists that he would never mistake Suguru's residuals. With almost perfect timing, Suguru arrives at the front gate to the school. Yaga notices immediately and orders all sorcerers semi-grade 1 and above to intercept him. Suguru rides a large bird-like curse into the scene right in front of Yuta and his peers. He is accompanied by Laru, Mimiko, and Nanako, who rode inside of the bird's large mouth. Maki, Inumaki, and Panda threaten to have Yuta kick them all off the property, scaring Yuta. Suguru greets Yuta, blitzing right past his 3 peers before they even knew what happened. He tells Yuta today's society is wrong because sorcerers are forced to protect the weak, so his plan is to eradicate all non-sorcerers. This shocks all the students, but Satoru and Yaga arrive with several other sorcerers. Suguru commends Gojo on his 3 talented first years, but then takes the time to insult Maki as the failure of the Zenin family, which annoys Yuta, who refuses to continue acting friendly with someone who would insult his friends. Gojo confronts Geto more closely, getting in front of Yuta as protection. He demands to know why Suguru has returned to the school, and the curse user reveals he intended to declare war. To everyone listening, Geto announces that he will unleash a night parade of 100 demons on both Kyoto and Shinjuku. They will be ordered to massacre all non-sorcerers, challenging the sorcerers to protect them. His declaration is interrupted when Nanako reminds him that they are going to be late for their shopping trip to Takashita Street, but Gojo doesn't intend to let him to leave. But Suguru unleashes a large curse and reveals that his precious students are all within his range. While they're preoccupied with all of that, Suguru leaves on his large bird-like curse with all of his associates. Immediately after, Principal Yaga holds a strategy meeting to discuss how they plan to repel Suguru's terrorist attack. They clearly have more fighting power than Geto, so the question becomes, why would he try this on his own? On December 24th, same day as the movie release funny enough, the day of the terrorist attack, Suguru acknowledges his chances of winning are less than 20%. However, if he can kill Yuta and capture Rika, his chances go up to 99%. His true objective was to isolate Yuta Okkotsu. While Yuta waits alone in one of the classrooms, Maki enters and they talk about how all of these students are off fighting besides them. He then asks why Suguru called her a failure, and Maki explains that she is a member of the Zenin family, but she can't see curses. Yuta finally realizes why Maki doesn't like being referred to as a Zenin, and why she can't help him with curse energy. Yuta is impressed by Maki's resolve and tells her that he wants to be just like her, strong and resilient. He suggests helping crush the Zenin family, but Maki wants to do it on her own. Embarrassed, Maki leaves and expresses her frustration with feeling accepted by someone for once. Maki and Yuta both notice when a curtain suddenly engulfs the school, casted by no one other than Suguru Geto. In Shinjuku, Tokyo, hundreds of demons appear, just as promised. Looking down from a building with Geto's assistant, Miguel recognizes Satoru Gojo as his main target. Their objective is to simply buy time. Back at school, Maki is the first to greet Suguru, but he's less than impressed. Meanwhile, Satoru wonders why Geto hasn't shown himself in either city. Ijichi informs Satoru about what's happening with Yuta, and Satoru immediately uses his ability to teleport Inumaki and Panda back to the school. Miguel and his partners realize Satoru has figured out Geto's plan. Regardless, they must stick to it, and a curse reveals Mimiko and Nanako. On Miguel's mark, they begin their assault. Miguel challenges Satoru directly, but he's angry, claiming that he's busy at the moment. Inumaki and Panda are teleported back to the school and immediately break through the curtain. Suguru notices this and doesn't expect them to reach his point for a few minutes. However, Panda suddenly breaks through the wall behind Suguru. Geto realizes Panda just ran through all of the walls to take the shortest route. Panda unleashes a flurry of punches, but he notices Maki's injured body. While distracted, Suguru pummels Panda with a hand-to-hand combat, and Panda calls for Toge, who appears just in time to get Suguru's attention. Panda grabs the curse user's leg, and Inumaki orders him to crumble away with his cursed speech. Suguru appears to be crushed and falls deep underground through a giant crater Inumaki created. Due to Geto's strength and the power of the command though, Inumaki immediately begins coughing up blood from the backlash of the attack. Panda goes to check up on him, but Toge believes that they need to help Maki first. Suddenly, Suguru reappears from the ground, resurrected by one of his curses. Yuta notices all of the commotion and comes out to find all three of his friends grievously injured. While Suguru cries tears of joy over the young sorcerers helping one another, Maki is injured the worst, and Inumaki is just barely conscious enough to tell Yuta to run away. Instead, Yuta instantly becomes enraged and calls forth Rika once again, completely manifesting her for the second time. Suguru believes Yuta will die, but Yuta threatens to kill Suguru for what he has done. Yuta and Rika begin their battles with the special grade curse user Suguru Geto. Geto begins the battle using lots of weaker curses, hoping to see how Rika will respond, but Rika is able to transport Maki, Inumaki and Panda to a safe space where Yuta uses a reverse curse technique to heal them. Jealous of Maki, Rika becomes angry that another girl is getting Yuta's attention. However, a very stern Yuta tells her to be careful, officially controlling Rika for the first time. After healing his friends, Yuta confronts Geto. He asks Suguru why he didn't attack him, in which Geto replies that he was simply impressed that Yuta could even pull off a reverse curse technique. For his next move, Yuta pulls out a speaker with the sigil of the Inumaki family on it, and he manages to copy Inumaki's speech via his microphone. He commands all of Geto's attacking curses to die, impressing Suguru Geto even further. Yuta mentions how difficult using cursed speech is and commends Toge, but Geto is surprised to see Yuta using such high-level Jujutsu. He surmises that Rika is truly a boundless entity of curse energy that can be shaped into any technique. Meanwhile in Shinjuku, Satoru Gojo and Ijichi deal with the curse users Miguel, Nanako and Mimiko. The two girls hang several managers and threaten to do so to anyone who gets in Geto's way. Miguel is able to disrupt Gojo's technique thanks to a rope weaved with an uncanny curse. However, the rope ends up almost running out, making Miguel extremely nervous. as he has to survive a few more minutes in almost hand-to-hand combat, but he promises to curse Suguru if he dies. Back at Tokyo Jujutsu High, Geto arms himself with a curse tool and prepares to fight Yuta directly. He believes Yuta's body must be overflowing with cursed energy, granting Yuta enhanced abilities in every sense. Geto compares sorcerers to gods, further irritating Yuta, who continues their battle by striking several times with his sword. Geto is able to parry though with his 3-section staff and claims that normal humans are just trying to ignore those above them. Yuta claims that he's done with Geto's god complex, but gets caught off guard. An octopus-like curse entangles Yuta, and before he can cut himself free, Geto strikes him several times. Rika brings Yuta out of harm's way though, and Geto continues ranting, believing that the audacity of non-sorcerers to hide away the strong makes him sick. Rika checks on Yuta's condition, but he claims to have gotten used to Geto's movement. Yuta re-engages his opponent, but his sword breaks from all of the cursed energy running through it. Geto tries to tease him about this, but Yuta smashes him in his face and sends him flying back with a left hook. Yuta admits that he can't confirm whether Geto is right or not, but simply because this man threatens Yuta's friends means he has to go down. Geto summons his most powerful cursed spirit in a single technique, Maximum Uzumaki, threatening to destroy Yuta once and for all. In response, Yuta thanks Rika for protecting him and embraces her. He asks her for her power one last time and promises her that they will be together forever after that. This excites Rika's spirit, which grows even stronger. Geto realizes that Yuta is sacrificing himself to remove any limits on his curse energy. Using love, the most powerful curse of all, Rika fires a blast of curse energy that clashes with Geto's cursed spirits, creating a massive explosion. Geto flees the scene, severely injured, missing an arm with a hole in his chest. He swears to get Rika next time, but is confronted by Gojo. Gojo confirms all of Geto's followers fled and admits that he trusted Geto enough not to injure young sorcerers like Panda and Inumaki. He gives Geto one last chance for some last words, and Suguru admits that he harbors no disdain for Jujutsu High. He simply couldn't be happy in this world, no matter what. Maki Toge and Panda awaken Yuta, who's glad to see that they're all okay. However, Rika calls Yuta, and he plans on making good on his promise to her. Suddenly, Rika's cursed form shatters, revealing the human spirit of a young Rika. Gojo arrives and confirms that the curse has been lifted. He also reveals that Yuta is a descendant of Mishizane Sugawara and also a distant relative of his, meaning that they are part of the same family. Yuta's rejection of Rika's death led to her manifestation as a cursed spirit. Yuta begins to cry because he feels responsible for everything that has happened, but Rika embraces him and reveals that she has been happier than ever. Her spirit disappears after this, saying goodbye to Yuta as she is finally laid to rest. Sometime afterward, on a day when it's snowing, Gojo walks with Yuta, assuring him that everything that happened with Geto was his fault alone. He also returns the student ID that Suguru had taken from him earlier on. Just then, Maki interrupts, standing in front of the duo with Inumaki and Panda. Happy to see his friends, Yuta smiles, still wearing the ring that Rika gave him.